Okay, guys, we are live! So for those listening at home, welcome to the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel. My name is Kevin Madison, and I'll be your friendly, what am I going to be? I think I'll be your friendly editor-in-chief still, because today we're going to be carrying on with our ongoing Savage Supers campaign, The Guard, but unfortunately we were down a number of players for that, so we weren't able to continue with that campaign this morning. So instead, we are going to be taking a bit of an opportunity to go back in time in that setting. So this is in the same setting as our Savage Supers campaign. For those who aren't familiar with that campaign, it is a superhero setting, but it's one that where we assume that anything you could conceive of or that has been part of a official, superhero setting, it exists in our world in some capacity, not as the same character, but as cognates, but introduced at the time when they were first published. So there is a Superman cognate, but he's been around since 1938. There's a Batman cognate, been around since 1939. I think I might have that wrong. Maybe it's 39 and 40 for those two respectively, but in any event. Similarly, there's cognates of Marvel characters that are introduced in the 60s, and similarly, this adventure today is going to take us back a little further to the pulp era. Our setting for today's session is going to be 1932 in the same world, but rather than the Guard, we are calling today's session Agents of Aegis. And instead of using the Savage Worlds rule set that we use for the Guard, we are using one of my favorites, Kult, Divinity Lost. And I am joined today by two stars of today's session. One, a returning member of the Guard, and another who is joining us in the world of the Guard for the first time. I'll go the order I've got you guys on the screen here. Why don't you tell us who you are and who you're playing today? First up, we've got Darren.
Hello there, I'm Darren. I'm playing Domingo, who is a war veteran who's now turned private eye.
Very nice. Next up is Robert.
Yeah, I'm Robert. I'm playing Felix Fantôme. How would I say that, actually?
Fantôme, actually, because there's no...
Fantôme.
In French, I was reminded of this last night. In French, if there's an accent on the top of it, then you pronounce it like you do in, Spanish or Italian.
Okay. Felix Fantôme. He's a consulting magician. I'm looking forward to finding out a little bit more about him.
Nice. So for today's session, we are starting a little bit late just because we were talking a bit about the setting. The year is the early summer of 1932, and 1932 finds the great nation of the United States of America in a great deal of trouble. The Depression is well into its worst era. There is a tent city of pensioners, veterans of the Great War, who have occupied a large swath of downtown Washington, D.C. There is a dust storm that is so bad that it has been known to block out the sunlight in the middle of the day in New York City. There are thousands, I should say, not hundreds, thousands of people who are unemployed, underemployed, and finding themselves either having lost everything in the crash of 29 or the circumstances that followed. Political unrest is quite prevalent across the country, with many Americans turning their mind to alternative forms of government because their government, in their perspective, had so clearly failed them at this point. And in addition to that, there are supernatural forces that are at work in the land. And that's what brings our heroes in. Our heroes are members of an organization, an ancient organization called Aegis, the Aegis Society. And the Aegis Society has really only begun to act in recent years, largely because in more in the open, by trying to organize some of the pulp adventurers who were active during the 1920s to try and respond to whatever supernatural or paranormal threats are either acting as opportunity or opportunity, agents of chaos in the otherwise challenging times, or that may be behind some of the more insidious threats. And that seems to be what Aegis has been suspecting, is that there's something bigger afoot here. You two, I think, have probably known one another now you may have run across one another before, but you've only really been acting for Aegis for probably 6 months or so. So you can feel free to determine, judge for yourself how that is going to play out. What I can tell you, this is Chapter 4, Time of Assumption. And this entire investigation began with the ghost of a dead woman. Domingo, one of the things that has been troubling you since the Great War is that at times friendly and sometimes less than friendly spirits will come to you. And you don't talk about it much, but there is something that happened to you in the trenches of Western Europe at some point that led you to have this. It is certainly not something you welcome, and at times it can be disturbing, particularly those spirits who are unwell and are uncertain as to what has happened to them. But there was a woman who you found named Harper Manning, who died. What we have missed thus far in our previous issues of this is that you have investigated Harper and found that Harper was an assistant to a United States congressman named Kirkland Boone. Kirkland Boone is one of the congressmen from the great state of Illinois. And the more you investigated things, it seemed that Ms. Manning was or suffered from a tragic self-ending of her life, but supernatural investigation suggested otherwise. She was murdered, and more to the point, she was murdered with magic. Later investigation into this found there was curious things going on in Kirkland Boone's past. Boone comes from a family of relatively new money, and the Boones can be thought of as kind of one of those families that bought their way into ascent, along with similar to what the Kennedys did. The Boones, Kirkland served in some capacity with the State Department overseas for a number of times, and he seems to have also studied abroad quite a bit, and has only come back really seemingly to sort of involve himself with the Boone family business, coal mining, of course, and with politics now. It also seems that he has a strange connection to Mesopotamia. He studied there. He served in some capacity that was a little unknown in the fledgling Kingdom of Iraq, which was established after the end of the Great War. Things recently have gotten quite desperate in the Kingdom of Iraq, and it seems as if that concerned Congressman Boone because he was having a number of packages sent out, and it seems as if that may be what got Ms. Manning killed. She somehow came across this as her role as a congressional aide. She worked in Congressman Boone's office. Further investigation found that there were a number of packages that seemed to be coming from the Kingdom of Iraq and were being delivered across, not only arriving, but then being distributed out across the United States. It's not clear what they are, but it seems as if they were some kind of antiquity. Your investigation found another name, a former assistant named Lawrence Gallagher. Lawrence Gallagher was someone who worked more directly, not in the congressional office, but in Boone's separate. He was an aide of some kind of unknown quality, but he seems to have not been involved for around 8 years. where our session starts today is with you in Chicago and waiting to meet, apparently, with Gallagher. You have made contact with Gallagher, and Gallagher has been seemingly terrified. He's very scared of something, and you wish to know one thing that you have not been able to uncover as of yet. You found these antiquities arriving in the United States. You know they have gone somewhere else because they were not in the warehouses you have searched. But you don't know where they're going, and you don't know what they are. Something tells you, however, that this is likely to be finding these will help explain not only Ms. Manning's death, but also may help prove whatever our distinguished congressman is doing. The other thing you have uncovered, there is a kind of, he's either a like body man or an assistant or a special advisor, but there is you think he is Iraqi, but he's somewhere from the Middle East. His name simply is Hamid, and he seems to be this man who lurks around Congressman Boone. It's not quite clear what role he has in in either Boone's life or Boone's office, but he seems to be involved in some capacity. His name has been on many of those shipping invoices that you guys have found. So where our session starts is we left on a cliffhanger because you arrived at this diner waiting to arrive, waiting to meet with Mr. Gallagher. And what I think Dom may have noticed is you keep an eye out for when people are keeping an eye out for you. And it definitely had a feeling that there were people watching you here. And we've seen you order your coffees. This is probably in the mid-morning. It is a gray day, in spite of it being the probably late May, early June. You have your drinks, and then your waitress brought you a note saying that someone was on the phone for one of you. Now, which of you do you think would have answered that phone? This, of course, is 1930, so there's no cell phones. You will be needing to go to the actual diner's phone.
No one's name was mentioned when they said there's a phone call.
If you ask that, what this is our starting our flashback, on the last episode and the waitress says, "Honey, they just described the two of you, and the two of you stand out. I don't care which of you takes the call."
I suggest, Felix, maybe you should take the call.
Sure. And he stands up and saunters over to the phone and takes it.
So as you're making your way to the phone, what you can hear is the sound of large beating wings. Something has passed by. Nothing you can see, but perhaps something worth investigating in future. You answer the phone, and there is a desperate-sounding man on the other end of the phone, and what he says is, "You've been followed. You've got to lose them. I'll be in touch again." And the phone slams. That was how we ended last session. Don't you remember, guys? Now, one of the things we do at the outset of every Kult game is one of the things you will have, you'll see on your character sheet, there were certain things that were listed as things what are they? I can't remember what they are actually called in the game. Let's see here.
Disadvantages?
No, dramatic hooks.
Oh, dramatic hooks. Okay.
Yeah, so dramatic hooks are a function in the game that typically at the start of each session, what we do is we set some things for you to explore. And the way it's really neat in an ongoing campaign, what you do is you assess at the end of the session whether you've achieved the dramatic hook or not. If you did it, you get an XP for it. It's the other players who dictate the dramatic hooks for you. So we didn't do that in this because obviously you guys didn't know these characters until this morning, so I didn't that. But I've got 2 dramatic hooks for you guys in here. The dramatic hooks for Felix are: you should question a plan that involves killing a living being, and you should investigate the connection between Senator Boone and the Sons of Silver. For Dom, you should reveal a dream that relates to your current investigation, and you should investigate Felix's connection to the Shadow Man. And the way that we would do this in an ongoing game is like there's probably something you've done or you've said or whatnot in a previous session, and you'd be like, I think you should, explore or investigate or whatever, something that you did last time. It ends up being a really neat way of not only giving, fun prompts of what to do with your session, but also to see what other people are finding interesting about what you did in the previous session. So that's one thing we do at the outset. The other thing we do is we take a look at your disadvantages and see if there is anything we need to roll to get the session going. So we have for Dom, you... so for nightmares during any scene where you sleep, then we roll that disadvantage. So we'll put a fork in that one for now. But the other one is haunted. In the first session, and whenever you are distracted or weakened, we then roll. This is our first time playing this character, so why don't you go ahead and roll on your haunted? Let's see how that is going to affect today's session.
Let's just give it a roll.
Oh, failure! Thank you very much. All right, so what that means is failure, any of these things, whether it is a success or a failure or whatever else, it is a matter of just how complicated things are. The story always keeps moving in this game, and it just tells us what interesting twists we're going to see. Hold is a narrative metacurrency that the game masters get in Kult that we can use to spend to expressly do things to tie in challenging parts of outcomes from other roles. So in this case, I can have undead or your things relating to your haunted thing. I can make life challenging for you. So this is a way for this part of your backstory and your characters core components come into play. And I'm going to use one of them immediately. Because what's happened is, as Felix is on the phone, you don't know what's going on, but there is on the, Formica, table that you're sitting at the booth, the coffee cups begin, rattling along. And the coffee is going to spill directly forward onto you. So what you could do, Dom, is you could try and avoid harm, if you like, if you don't want that to happen.
Yeah, I think he would try and avoid getting scolded or...
Yeah, or you know what we'll do? Actually, act under pressure. Let's use that instead. Okay. Your dealer's choice. Either of those makes sense for me. Which do you think that would be?
I think he'll try and avoid harm instinctively.
Just trying to move out of the way?
His reflexes are just, yeah.
Okay. So then go ahead and give us a roll for avoid harm.
Okay. Oh.
Okay. So what I think happens is you do manage to throw yourself to the side out of the booth, but what you do is you back into this waitress. And she kind of hits down. She's like, "All right, hon, there's no rush." And how'd you manage to do that? And she's gesturing at the spilled coffee cup that is in there.
I think he'd be quite flustered at this point. I'm sorry. And he'd be trying to sort of clean it up with napkins and try and hide the fact that this is something that's not normal, it's just happened.
Okay.
So he'd be just trying to clean it up a bit.
Okay. And then Felix, you have 2 that actually are at the start of the first session. So Cursed is first session, and whenever you are confronted by the supernatural. Why don't you go ahead and give us a roll for Cursed?
Yep.
I'll put this over
There it
here.
is. Hold on one sec. Wait, that's the PDF. There it is. Okay. Cursed.
Okay. So success with complications, I have 1 hold. So there's something, and I don't know anything about the curse for your character. So, you know, this is one of the things I mentioned, I've mentioned in previous times of playing Kult. Kult is one of those games where they say you play to find out. And that's something I really love about this game, is that we don't necessarily know, we don't have to know the answers to things. We can just play and see what happens. So with that, I know I've got 1 hold, and I can... so your curse is going to come into play for this. And then your other is Stalker.
Yep.
First game session whenever you expose your current location. So go ahead and...
Which kind of just happened. And that is their Stalker modifier.
Nice. So fortunately, your Stalker, whatever supernatural thing is after you, is not coming yet. But if you do get exposed, and becoming exposed... That's an example of something I could do as a hard move. If something, you know, if it makes sense in the fiction and it seems fun, then we do that. We roll again and see what happens.
Yep.
So,
to find out.
What I assume is that, Dom, you definitely have your stiletto and your pistol on you. And Felix, I'm assuming you got your handgun concealed on you somewhere.
Yep.
But with that rolled, so... There's perhaps a, you know, Felix, if you look over, you can see Dom is cleaning up stuff from his, from the booth. Something has happened there, and we're picking up in the scene from there. So, what would you guys like to do? And you can think of one of the ways that I think I prefer to start with Kult is talk about what you want to do in fiction, and we can figure out what the move is. I think that's a more interesting way to interact with the story than it is to say, like, I'm going to X or I'm going to Y. If you've got a power you want to use and you need to describe it, obviously, like, do that. But feel free to describe that in a kind of, you know, a more narrative way as well. As a rules point too, Dom, generally speaking, you will have an option at the start of every potentially violent scene to roll field agent if you wish to. So don't feel that you need to take an action to do that or anything like that. Field agent is reflective of your level of experience and preparation and whatnot. So you're always able to do that, and there's always a potential downside to using field agent. Well, there's always a potential downside to everything in this game. So what happens next, guys? Felix has just got off the phone. Dom, you just had some kind of... There's no tremor, you know, going on in this Chicago diner. What would you guys like to do next?
I think Felix sees something happened, and he's already beginning, you know, he heard the wings. It's like he got the thing they said, so I think he actually starts to look around the room before going over to his partner, and he's trying to he's just trying to observe really quickly to see what's going on. And so I think what he wants to do in game terms is observe a situation.
Sure. Yeah.
And
so go ahead and give us an observe a situation roll and let's see how that goes.
Sure. He's trying, you know, he's a little spooked. But he's going to take a moment.
Sure.
And nope.
Okay, so you do get to ask a question though. Okay. And one of the things with this as well, the observe a situation move. It seems like it's intended to be more of a meta level kind of thing of like what clear opportunities are there and things like that. Just from the way that some of this is written. So what is your question before I take my move?
Well, he's looking to see if there are any threats. So basically, what currently poses the biggest threat, I think.
Okay, so you're looking around, and what you can see is while you know. The Depression has left a lot of people sort of listless and whatnot. There still is, you know, downtown Chicago is still downtown Chicago, and there's people, you know, kind of moving around. But you can see outside, it's almost like they, you know, they stand out in the way that, like, the thing that doesn't belong stands, because there are at least 5 people who are standing dead still. And you realize that every one of them outside the diner is watching the diner. And almost on you can see that they're also looking back and forth at one another. So you can see, you know, almost like posts of a broken pier as tide is coming in. The crowd is moving all around them, but they are stationary and watching you.
Yep.
I am going to move then. So let's see here. And here we go. Great. They are starting to move in on the diner.
Okay. So maybe by him looking out and noticing them, they notice that he noticed them.
Quite possibly, or you may have just realized, like, oh shit, like we are something may have changed here because they seem to be moving in.
Yeah. I was just saying that because I saw you get no bonus and miss something, attract unwanted attention or whatnot. So.
Oh yeah, it could very well be, absolutely.
Yeah. So he kind of sees him coming in. No need to be subtle about it. So he rushes over to Dom and says, "We got to go."
And Dom is cleaning up the mess.
Yep. He whispers real quickly. 5 guys outside moving in.
Okay. So I think his instincts are kicking at that point, and he'll look to the back for any sort of toilets or back doors that lead out into the staff area or something like that. Yep. There's
definitely there. So are you trying to like duck through there to lose these guys?
I'm gonna follow me, Felix, and I'm gonna go. And as I go towards the door, I'm just gonna say to this serving lady, I'm just going to clean myself up, love, sorry, and just sort of go through without even asking, just sort of.
Yeah.
Okay. It sounds like you're acting under pressure, so why don't you go ahead.
Okay.
Take an acting under pressure move.
Oh, it's not his best, but let's go. Whoa.
Back in one quick sec.
Sure. So you lead Felix through that and out into the kitchen. And there's kind of a look of like because neither of you guys look like you belong back here. And you make your way into the alleyway. I assume you guys own a vehicle, but it's probably parked a couple of blocks away to keep yourself, so you've got, you're not spotted as you're going in. But as you step into the alleyway, there are, see 2 other guys who clearly don't look like they are in there. They have the look of, like they're wearing probably like they looked like laborers, to be honest. They got that kind of like 30s slouch hat on, and as you guys are coming out, the 2 of them are like, hey, one of them hits the other one and points in your direction, and the 3 of them begin making their way down the alleyway towards you. Felix, so we don't have to go in any like specific order, but I'll just go in turn order. Like each of you guys take a turn, take a move, unless you guys say you want to do something different. So, Felix, would you care to do something?
So when we came out, or first of all, where are the guys? There's
coming from one end of the alleyway.
One end of the end. We're in the alley.
Yeah, you made your way through the kitchen. You went out of the back, and it seems like they did have this whole place under surveillance.
He looks back over his shoulder. He's trying to see if there's another way out of the alleyway.
It does seem to be, yeah.
Okay. So he says, let's avoid these guys. Let's lose them, he says, and, starts moving back the other direction.
Okay. So then, again, it sounds like you're acting under pressure.
Yep. I don't know why this... Oh, there it is. Act under pressure. Act under pressure. Where is it? Come on. There it is.
Yeah, each of your stats will have just underneath it in lighter things what move it's related to.
Yep.
All right, so you turn and start running down towards the other end of the the alleyway. Dom, you're maybe looking back at the people who are pursuing you, and as you step around, Felix, that is when the other 3 step out, and one of them fucking socks you right in the face.
Oops.
Now, you can avoid harm if you'd like.
Yep. I would love to do that.
And actually, this is one of those situations where I think, Dom, because you're keeping an eye out, you could help or hinder as well. You could be like, look out, for Felix.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We would definitely try and avoid that first contact.
Okay, so why don't you give us a helping roll 2, and this is going to be violence. Or engage in violence or reflexes, your choice.
I'll go engage in combat or violence.
Yeah, so roll helping with violence.
So I just roll it and...
Yeah, you can. I think there's a drop down to select what stat you're using, and then just roll helping. It's a top left of the little design there.
So that'd be violence, yeah. Okay.
Nice. So you get +1. This is one of the ones where there isn't complications that come from it. It just is degrees of it. So Felix, remember, don't put the plus sign in, but when you make your avoid harm roll, you are going to get +1. Okay.
I'm looking at this. I'm like, boy, it's really going to be hard to get 14 plus with these, with our stats.
Look at that! Whoa! You easily duck out of the way. Well, you're rolling 2d10 with this as well.
Oh, 2d10. Okay, I was
not 2d6. Okay. Yeah. This cult uses 2d10. So, what's it look like as? I mean, looks like Felix didn't need your help, but what do we see in the fiction?
He's just like he started to move. The guy comes down, like throws a punch at his head, and it's just like it's almost like he knows it's coming. It's like he just has this brief flash in his head of duck, and it just goes directly over his head.
Okay, and we're using our stock thug.
Yep.
Once again, I think this guy has been beaten up more on this channel than any other NPC. I fucking love him. Yep. All right.
But it's my first time seeing him, so... Okay.
Oh, is it? Okay, yeah. It's a running joke in some of our other games, because I just... When I search for Thug, his face is the one that shows up, and I have not loaded a new one. Plus, like, what a punchable face. Look at that.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so then I've taken my move, and Felix was trying to go. Dom, first, Dom, this is not going to be like take an action per se, but you could trigger your field agent, generate some edge to have some options.
Yeah, I think it straight away would kick in.
Yep.
His training, his experience.
So go ahead and roll. I've got it set up, so you should be able to roll just that, and it'll tell you about display the results properly. I'm also using my...
Yeah. This is roll advantage, so yeah, I assume that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look at that. Okay, so those are your options you've got there. Take cover to avoid a range attack. Chokehold. Disarm. Or improvised weapon. Okay.
Have we seen any weapons yet?
On them, not yet.
Okay.
So then, that's what you've set up. You still can take. You can't. Would you like to take a move?
So we got 3 behind us. How many in front of us?
So there's 3 sort of right in front of you right now. One of them just tried to sock Felix right in the kisser.
Okay. I think I'm just going to try and return the favor and just try and knock him on his ass.
Okay. So then, just so you know how we interpret the engaging in violence, you look at your weapon. In this case, you are using your unarmed attack.
Yep.
This tells you what kinds of attacks you can do with that. So you could do a punch, which does 1 harm. You could do a lock, where you take control of the character. Shift, you can create distance by shoving them back or whatever. Disarm them, or use excessive force, focusing entirely on them and try and wallop them. There isn't really a mechanical difference between any of these, but we use whatever you described your attack as a prompt for our next kind of what moves I might be able to do.
I'm going to try and use the shift and basically throw him into a garbage can, or just sort of get him out of the way temporarily. So
to give you an idea too, so the when you inflict harm on either you guys suffer harm or NPCs suffer harm, they gain conditions, and 3 harm will kill any normal human being. Typically, you guys are more durable, so you got some plot armor, but typically human beings 3 and they're dead. Typically also 2 and they're out. 1 is them reeling and considering whether they're going to carry on. Some things will be tougher, but for these schmucks, 3 harm would kill them. 1 will make them second guess things. 2 is probably going to be sufficient to put them out of the fight. So With that in mind, why don't you go ahead and give us a engage in violence move, please, or make an engage in violence move. Look at that. So what does it look like?
So like I say, he's sort of a bit off balance because he's taking a swing at Felix, and I'm just going to sort of give him the momentum and just throw him towards these bins and just crash him into the edge of the.
He lands in whatever the the last bag of garbage taken up by this diner. He just downs on top of it. Felix, would you like to take a move before I go with these guys?
I think he would. I think realizing that there's 6 of these guys, and 3 are on one end of the alley, 3 are the other, effectively.
Yep.
One's in a pile of garbage.
Yeah.
He's not a fighter, not much. And I'm gonna say maybe this is actually tied to his curse, the inner power thing that he has.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so, because he doesn't fully understand it, maybe he's going to become more addicted to it over time or whatever. But he basically feels something kind of welling up inside of him, maybe for the first time, and
probably not the first time. Your inner power is something, you definitely is part of. The trouble is you can't really control.
Right.
Always.
So he feels it coming up, and sometimes he tries to hold it back. This time he doesn't, because he's feeling a little bit frazzled by the whole situation, and B, there are 6 guys.
Yeah.
So he goes in, tries and releases it.
Okay, so this will be you tapping. This is you calling on the Shadow Man, the one you have bargained with for power. So go ahead.
I think he grabs that. What is it? A talisman or a symbol that he has?
Yeah. What do you think that is?
I think it's probably it's maybe a picture of. Maybe there's like a building or something, but then in front of it, there's sort of this shadow, basically. But it's not like in most symbols or whatnot, it would be engraved or whatnot. Here, it's almost like it kind of fades into the background a bit. So kind of the center is the darker, and then it kind of fades. So it just gives the suggestion of a shadow. Okay. Of a shadowy figure.
And what does this manifest as? Well, we know it causes harm, but what it looks like can be anything that would make sense for your character. It could be fucking flames coming out. It could be shadows grasping them. It could be.
I think it would be the latter. Or maybe shadows just kind of like going over them, and you don't actually see what happens.
Yeah.
But then the shadows leave, and whoever's and then it leaves the harm.
Okay.
Behind. Now where is that?
It'll be under advantages. So on the right column.
Inner power. I got it.
There you go.
Inner power. Yep. Okay.
Nice! Holy smokes! Great roll.
Whoa. Okay.
So you managed to restrict it only to the your enemies, and what does it look like as the 2 of them who are engaged with you right now are just pulled in?
They the shadows just flow over them, and you say they get knocked out basically. Or
they're effectively out of the fight.
Yeah. So the shadows completely envelop them. You don't hear them. Maybe you hear a choked scream or whatnot, and then the shadows disappear, and they're down on the ground, breathing very shallowly. Yeah,
and that includes the guy you threw aside, Dom. Yep. He kind of gets up and is pulled back down. All right. So for them, in spite of that terrifying apparition, it seems that these thugs may have seen more terrifying things, because they are racing right down into engage with you guys, and they are going to one is going to be walloping Felix, and 2 are on you, Dom. I'm not actually going to inflict harm yet. What would you guys like to do? Would you like to make a move?
They've actually reached us, haven't they, at this point?
Yeah, what I'll do, I'm making a rules is written. I'm doing a soft move, so I'm setting up a potential consequence for. So they've moved in, and you guys are going to get hit. Dom, what does Dom think of what he just saw with Felix?
I mean, he's quite disturbed by what he saw, but again, he hasn't got time at the moment. But he sort of gives him a quick glance, and sort of Jesus. But then thinks, hang on, we got to deal with these guys and get out of here. So he kicks back into sort of instinct to just smack one of these guys, put him down, and so we can run away. But that's something to be discussed at a later point potentially.
Well, and here's something too. You can spend the edges you generated. So you should have like you can set a dice to 3, or you can put 3 tokens or whatever else to keep track of your edges. Those can be spent independent of your moves. So if you take a move to engage in violence and you want to wall up another guy, either knock him aside or knock him down or whatnot, you can also do like an improvised weapon where you grab a pallet and smash it over a dude doing 2 harm. Or grabbing a guy. Like, you can feel free to spend that however you want.
Yeah. And do they continue from scene to scene?
No, like each scene we have, you generate a new edge.
Yeah. So I think trying to take the upper hand, as 3 of them have just gone out of the fight, he's going to use that 2 edges. I think it's 2 for the improvised weapon.
That's right. Only 1 actually. They just have.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, they've only the way that it translates when I cut and pasted from it. It just has the 2 little dots. So.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. What the 2 means is that's how much harm it does.
Right. Okay. So he's going to try and grab a crate or something that's in the alleyway again.
Yeah.
And just smash it against this guy.
So 1 is down. That's 1 of your edge. You still could take a move if you like as well. And you could spend more edge if you like. It's like once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah. I think he'll take a swing at one of the others.
Go ahead. And same thing. This time, are you giving him a pop in the jaw, or are you? I
think I'm just going to try and hit him this time.
Okay.
Just try and.
So it'll be 1 harm.
Yep.
Yep. One of the guys gets clocked across the jaw. He reels and kind of staggers to the side. Felix, would you like to take another move before they do something?
Yeah. Just trying to see if there's anything else here I can. He's almost a little stunned by the, maybe he's used this before, but maybe this is the first time that it's actually taken out so many at once.
Probably not. Like because I assumed that you guys, this is 1932, and I assumed you guys were adventurers in the 20s. It's just that some of your powers are quite dangerous. Making a pact with unnatural powers is not something you do lightly.
Yeah. I think. What does maybe not influence other yet. I think right now he's going to go over and he's going to.
So you may be answering this already, but Robert, one of the things too, what I suggest with these types of games is think what you want to do in the scene, then we'll figure out what the move is.
Okay.
It's much better to do that than try and look at the list and try and figure out how you swirl it in.
Sure.
Like, for instance, if you're just like, if Felix is like, okay, Dom's got this, you could act under pressure and just try and, get yourself, that'll tell us whether you managed to get yourself out of the way so Dom can do his, work.
Actually, you know what? That doesn't sound like a bad idea. I think he's like, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. I'm just going to try to move somewhere else that will not get in his way. No. Which, of course...
Oh, no!
Who probably gets in his way.
Yeah, so hold on. There we go. I just realized I forgot to load 2 images I wanted to load this morning because I was tired. Here we go. Got it. All right, so what, you stagger back, and unfortunately, what you've done is given this guy an opening. He draws a gun.
Oh.
And he is going to... No, I'm good. So he's got a gun out, and he's got a... Oh, but then I get to make a move now. Yep. Felix, this guy's going to try and shoot you. So would you like to avoid harm, please?
Yes, please.
Go right ahead. And then Dom, this guy is...
No.
Oh, no. Okay, so then a handgun is...
You can't interrupt with the edges, can you?
You can. Yeah. What were you thinking?
Disarm, haven't I? I've got the remove an opponent's weapon in close combat.
So you could do this now, I think. So that's a good question. What I would probably do is I'd probably make you act under pressure to see, because that to me seems like that maybe that would work, maybe that wouldn't.
I think he'd see the gun being drawn and instinctively think, we've got to get that out of this situation.
Why don't you give us a act under pressure? move,
Okay.
and let's see what the outcome of that is.
Yep.
Nice.
Okay.
Oop.
Oh, a high price. I have great news.
Yeah.
Felix isn't shot. Dom, would you kindly give us an avoid harm roll as that? Let's see if that thing
Fair enough.
goes off. So here's what happens is as you push that to the side, the gun goes off, and you see that one of the dishwashers who's come outside to try and to see like what the hell was going on out there. Oh! He gets shot, hits against the wall, and kind of goes down. And I think I'd like Dom to give us a keep it together check, because he seems to be the one more familiar with loss and
Yeah, he's got some bad times from the war.
Okay, so what stability does is stability relates to your ability to keep it together in future. There isn't a death spiral as far as other actions are concerned in this. Which of those do you think you managed to not like shut down, Dom, but something has happened here? Which do you think makes the most sense for you?
It's definitely the guilt-ridden, because this is something that's happened before.
Yeah.
An innocent.
So if you go to the second page of it, you can tick off guilt-ridden.
Okay.
And then you guys are up again, because I've taken my moves. I tried to shoot somebody. You wrestled it out of the way. Unfortunately, a dishwasher or busboy caught that slug. Which of you guys would like to go next? And now is where you could spend the edge to disarm. So like to finish the spend of your edge, that gun has gone skittering down to the ground now.
Okay.
And I think you've got one more edge left. So
Yeah. So I think what he's going to do is use his last edge to do the improvised weapon again.
okay. What is it this time?
whatever.
Is it like a, what do you call it? Like garbage can lid?
I think it's the metal, garbage lid.
Swang! And he is on the ground. You could also take a move.
And I think I'm going to try and lock the last guy, sort of get him in some sort of hold.
Okay.
So that would be just engaging combat, wouldn't it?
You go. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. So you're getting in and getting your, getting this guy into a grip, and I think that, I think what he looks at you, and for a brief moment, his eyes, which are the dark brown or something like that, his eyes go completely black, and he says something to you in a language that you are not familiar with, but you will never forget these words because they almost resound in your mind when he says something. But apart from that, you now have got him under control. So he is now grappled by him. Felix.
Felix is going to rush over to the dishwasher who came out and attempt to basically render aid.
So first aid in the game is acting under pressure. So
that's what I figured.
Yeah, go ahead and give us an act under pressure move.
Nope.
Okay. So I think the complication here might be obvious. There's the sounds of sirens coming, guys. So you have managed to staunch the bleeding. The waitress kind of comes out, and it's like, what do you got? And so people are beginning to collect. Felix, you're down and staunching the blood. The sound of sirens are far off right now. They're not immediately here.
Yep.
This guy is just struggling. And I'm trying to decide here. I think Felix, you're pressuring this guy, and there is he's kind of in that place where, like, as long as you do the appropriate thing, this guy's going to live. It's okay.
Yep.
But it also could, with a little nudge, put him in the other direction. And I think you hear a whisper in your ear, and it's a voice only you hear, and it's a voice you recognize. It's the voice of the Shadow Man. And what he says is, "Give him to me." And I'd like you to give us a keep it together roll. And then you can tell us how you how you react. You don't have to do anything, but you know precisely what the Shadow Man means.
Yep.
So what do we see in fiction?
He like closes his eyes when the voice comes, and you see him actually listening, and maybe his hand starts to come up off the guy, and he like shakes his head violently and puts it back down, and whispers under his breath, not yet. And he what he wants to do at this point is to see if there's anybody nearby who can basically take over for him.
Definitely.
So he's going to, I believe, he wants to convince somebody nearby to come, and like who. If anybody else came out, you said other people came out. Yeah,
you definitely can do that. Like you've already because you've already succeeded for acting under pressure. This is not something where there would necessarily. We could make a roll for it for persuading, but you know, that's probably, I'm not sure there would be necessarily an interesting thing that would happen with failure from that. So I think you definitely can convince someone to come over and help you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Dom, while Felix is seeing to this shot busboy or dishwasher, what are you doing? This guy.
All I'm trying to do is get one bit of information. Who sent you? And I'm just trying to choke this guy out, so he either gives me the name or he sort of passes out.
Yeah. So why don't you give us a I think what we're going to do is trying to decide here. It's definitely not influence other, because that's more like setting up another move.
I'm glad you said that.
Right? And it's not investigate. Why don't you give us a violence roll? And we'll use it. We'll just interpret it with investigate.
So give it a violence.
Yeah, and then we'll just determine whatever the outcome is. We'll interpret that as if it was a... Because what you're doing is, you're going to ask 2 questions.
Okay. So, who sent you?
The Sons of Silver. And he says something to the effect of, it's more threatening stuff. You have no concept of what is coming. You have no concept of our reach. The Sons of Silver it is our time of ascension. One more question.
Do I actually know where this Kirkland Boone guy is? Do I know where he is?
Where he is?
Yeah.
DC probably right now, or traveling around the country as doing congressman stuff right now.
Yeah, so he's irrelevant.
Wow.
At this stage.
Yes.
I wonder if he knows this Hamid guy.
Maybe I'm not gonna say anything.
You can ask. This is sort of like the questions again are also kind of a like meta narrative thing. So like if you guys want to talk over what information, you guys can feel free to do that. Remind me, Kev, how much do we know about the Sons of Silver? Do they work in this area? You've seen reference to the Sons of Silver. Sons of Silver is one of those like benevolent societies that seems to have grown up in the last few years. A benevolent society might be a really charitable way of describing it. A bund might be another way of describing it. It is a extremist political group. But this is an era of extremist political groups, so it is certainly not the only one. It is definitely one that is operative in Illinois. And Congressman Boone serves the great state of Illinois.
Do we know where their headquarters are or anything like that? If they're...
I assume you probably found it out thus far, yeah.
Okay. So that's not something we should ask.
No.
The examples they give for the questions are, how can I find out more information? What is my gut feeling about what I'm investigating? Is there anything weird about what I'm investigating?
I think it would just be instinctively, what do you want with us? Why are you after us?
Why are you following the lies of a dead woman? And you have not told anyone outside of the Aegis Society that this is what's happened.
I think with the sirens going and at that point, I think I would just throw him to one side, sort of half choking, and let's get out of here.
Okay.
And Felix says, she's all right, by the way.
Okay.
She's going to be all right.
The person was shot?
Yeah,
okay.
Oh, yeah, I mean, Dom would definitely look over with a bit of concern on his face.
Yeah. No, she's going to be okay.
Okay.
That'll give him a little bit of a respite.
Felix, you can hear, as well as you're, deciding where you wish to go, you can once again hear the beating of those wings.
I'm wondering, I was looking at, he wants to... He kind of wants to know what that is, and...
So your enhanced awareness would definitely be the thing. Magical intuition is seeing the influence of magic from beyond, from the illusion into this world. Enhanced awareness is actually looking. It's effectively kind of like the seeing through the illusion move, but not having to suffer trauma or whatnot in order to do that.
Yeah, okay. I was actually looking at the see-through illusion thing, and I was like, I don't think I want to do that, but if I can...
you are as a magician, that's where your enhanced awareness and magical intuition are way better. You could also, if you wish to, what magical intuition would allow you to do also, you might learn something from these guys. So if you'd like to use either of those, you can just click on the...
He's going to use the enhanced awareness. Because it feels like to him he felt this inside and outside. 14 success with complications.
Okay. So here is what happens is what does it feel like or look like to Felix as he shifts his perception to be able to see the world beyond?
So he's definitely got that. It's almost like second nature for him now when he uses this, and so he's still moving with Dom, but his eyes actually close because he's sort of using his mind to see everything. So his eyes close, but he's still looking, and he basically gets brief glimpses behind whatever the real world is.
Okay. So as you look back in the alleyway, and this is a maybe 2-story building, there's the diner on the first floor, there's whatever, maybe a tenements or something on the upper floor. If you look back, you see perched atop that building is this, and it is watching you, and it has the same it has a very human-like face. It is watching the two of you as you go away, and it seems to almost nod in recognition that you can see it and it is being seen. And you then see it look over, and what you can... It's almost like it's trying to point something out to you. And standing... It's not really on the same, in the same space or whatnot, because this is a metaphorical realm as much as it is a real one. There is something standing kind of aside, maybe in the park that you guys are crossing to be able to get towards your vehicle. That a goat-headed humanoid is watching.
And it's watching. No other like gestures or anything from it? Just watching.
Just watching. And as is this thing perched atop the diner, and then you kind of flash.
Yeah.
And as you do, what you can hear is the sound of like, God, it sounds like as if something was screaming and then suddenly moving impossibly fast towards you. You have a feeling that you are being pursued.
Any thought that it might be the thing that he saw, the goat-headed person, or does he think that that's...
The goat-headed person gave you a much more... there was almost something comforting about the way that the big lion thing was looking at you. The goat thing, curiously, as disturbing as it may be, and as, you know, as much as that might fit the iconography of really malevolent force in a lot of, you know, earthly traditions, you didn't get a positive vibe by any means, but you didn't get a negative one. It's almost as if it was a bystander. The screams of the shadows, or the screams of whatever it was that was coming in your direction, that most definitely was not something you were... No.
Okay.
So I think maybe if we could bring us back to the real world, I think you've seen this stuff, and Dom realizes that you're sort of out of it as, you know, he's running along. What does Dom do when he knows that Felix is... I think you know that he's getting into his whatever, you know...
I think he just gives him a couple of seconds just to sort of look like he's coming back out of it, and as soon as he does, he just grabs him and starts to run towards the car to just make sure he's on track and back in the real world. And let's get
Felix is like, run faster, something's coming.
Okay, so Dom, why don't you give us a act under pressure move?
Okay,
see if you're able to get away unscathed. No problem. So we see you racing around. What do we see as you guys get back to your car?
Just Dom obviously is the driver, so Felix since it's on the same side, he doesn't even waste time to get around to the passenger side. He just opens the back door on the same side as Dom, and jumps in and slams it shut.
Okay.
Said, go anywhere.
Okay.
Just pull away as quick as possible.
Okay. So you guys are not originally from Chicago, I'm picturing. Like a lot of pulp era, you know, vigilante. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I was going to put you all in New York. Where do you think you're from? You can be from Chicago if if that fits your idea. Is this your hometown, or at least the place you're operating, or do you think you're from elsewhere?
You know, I'd kind of like to make I don't know why I have the connection now. I was going to say New Orleans, but I'm actually going to go. I'm going to go Charleston, just because it's my favorite city.
Okay.
I think maybe back in this time, there's probably a little bit more of a mystical, you know, like not mystical element, but there were certainly people who would fit the mold that Felix is from.
Okay. Nice. So you're from North Carolina.
Charleston, South Carolina.
South Carolina. Okay. Yeah. Charlottesville.
Charleston.
Charlotte isn't Charlotte North Carolina?
Charlotte's North Carolina.
Okay.
Charleston's on the coast. Yep.
All right. Awesome. Okay. And then what about Dom?
This is where my American geography is going to let me down badly, so I think Dom's going to be...
If you want to be from like an Italian American community, there's big Chicago definitely has at this time a big Italian American community. New York does.
I think originally he might have been from New York, but since he's sort of settled down after the war, he's spent a lot of time in Chicago, and this is where he's
the mob would be also extremely powerful at this point in Chicago. So, not to stereotype, but you also may have some connections with, depending on what your feelings are towards them, you may, at the very least, you have social connections with...
Got plenty of work, let's just say that.
Yeah. So then that means that, Dom, you probably have an apartment here, or a home, for that matter. So, but would you... and an office, in all likelihood, because you're a private eye. Where do you guys go?
Obviously, it'd be anywhere to start with, just get a bit of distance, and then as we're putting a bit of distance between the situation, I'll look to Phoenix. And do you think it's safe to double back to my apartment? Are we still being followed?
He can go ahead and try to do his enhanced awareness again to see if anything's.
Yeah.
Sorry, where's the sheet? Okay. He closes his eyes, kind of like, and opens up the windows. Not that makes a big difference.
Okay.
But,
okay, so as far as you can tell, where you're moving through, there is a lot of despair, and that inevitably has kind of a poisoning effect on the the secret world. And as such, there's a lot of, it's almost like looking through a miasma or a haze. And as far as you can tell, they're not there, but you can hear still with your enhanced awareness the screeches in the distance. So you seem to have outpaced whatever it was that was immediately coming down upon you.
Yeah. There's still something, but it's further back, and I don't know if it's still following, but I don't think so.
So I think Dom will take the decision to just basically go back to the apartment, but just park, 100 meters away from the actual apartment, so we can sort of peer out the window and see if anyone's showing any interest in the car and things like that.
All right. Yep. So what I'll tell you is we haven't talked about how you got in contact with Lawrence Gallagher in the first place. Gallagher is actually a member of a prominent Chicago family. And I think it was inquiries through sort of the, family trust or the family business or something like that is how you got put in touch with him in the first place. And then that's where he contacted you. So your current avenue of contacting this guy is indirectly through the Gallagher Family Trust. So you pull up in front of the apartment, and let's see here. Why don't you give us observe a situation? Roll, Dom.
Okay.
Or a move.
Oof.
Oops.
So you do get to ask me a question.
Do I see anyone there that looks to be, observing the building or my apartment?
Let me think here. Yes, there is someone who is, you can see there is someone who is standing outside. I'm assuming what you've done is park, as you said, park like a couple blocks away. You've walked over and you're kind of, taking a look to see. And there is another person who seems identically dressed. It's not unusual for laborers, particularly in this time, to be lounging around. There's tons, whether it's in bread lines or in waiting for soup to get into soup kitchens or things like that, or otherwise just having nothing better to do, so wandering and standing around. But it's unusual to see people standing on their own and focused on one thing, and this person is looking at is your apartment separate from your office, do you think, or do you have kind of like you have a back room where you live and then you have your office up front, or one level down?
I think it would be the same building. Yeah, I don't think he'd have a big setup where he's got separate anything.
So there's someone who just has the same look as what the others do, and they seem particularly interested in just staring at your building.
Looks like we got more company.
I'm going to ask you to act under pressure because they're definitely keeping watch. It also means looking back and forth. So,
okay. Under pressure.
Okay. So you move things back. A difficult choice. So I think this guy turns and says something to a car that he's passing. And you see the car starts up and it kind of pulls away, and he starts trotting down in your direction. I think he has not seen you yet, but the choice is you're going to have to deal with these guys and then, and then be able to access your apartment and your office or whatnot. Or the choice will be, if you run away right now, you definitely can get away without being caught or without being seen. But because they think that they may have the suspicion of this dude, may lead to even more surveillance here. So is this a problem?
Burning the location a bit.
Kind of, yeah. That's what I'm thinking. So that'll be, you can definitely get away without being spotted, but that's sort of the cost.
Yeah, I think I'll make that decision that let's get out of here. We're gonna have to live off the streets for a little bit of time while we sort this mess out.
Okay.
And we'll sort of back away around the corner. And
so as you guys back away and run across the street, you sort of like get into an alleyway just in time for this other vehicle to come swinging around to try and find you. And it's that they get, the one guy runs around the corner, they pull up, and a bunch of thugs spill out, and they're both talking to each other like, "Where did you find him? Where is he?" And they're looking around, but they have no clue where you guys have gone. And that already brings us to our mid-session break. So why don't we take our mid-session break now, and we'll come back and see what you guys choose to do next. So for those listening at home, we'll be back in about 5 minutes.
Sure.
Okay. First one back. That's a rarity. For those listening at home, I hope you are having a great start to, if you are having a long weekend, a great start to your long weekend. You're back. Okay. So your edge would, if I can't remember if you had any left over, but that would be gone now.
I think I used it.
Yeah, and then so it would just mean that at the next scene you could do the same thing. I don't think you are. Oh, when you enter combat, that's when you roll it. Okay. So that answers. I was going to say I can't remember if you could use it more than once, but it happens when you're starting. So
yeah, no, it makes sense.
Okay, so I think. Why don't we? While we're waiting for Robert, I think let's take a look at your haunted. I think what you see. As you guys are running along and making your way back to the car, maybe you run past like either like a broken window or some windows, and what you're beginning to see is there is the reflection of Harper Manning's face as you're going by. Does Dom or how does he react when these haunted things intrude on his life?
Well, I think this is obviously flashing back to the war. I think he's had these sort of almost premonitions, or not. I don't know. Yeah, something like that. But he sees something that's not there, and then something happened during the war, and I think it was a woman that was killed. He shot by mistake. Because he got an image of a soldier or something come in front of her. Yeah. And he sort of instinctively shot, and then that sort of disappeared, and the actual reality came to fruition, and there was this woman that he'd shot by mistake. Why she was in a trench or whatever. Or whatever the situation was, never got explained, but that's what haunts him. So, I think he's sort of got used to living with it. It still sends a shiver down his spine, but it's sort of it's happening again. So he's almost, he doesn't dismiss it because obviously it freaks him out, but he's almost living with it, and he's got used to it, and it feels like it's a penalty for what he's done. It's like his guilt, and that's what he's been dealt with in life, that he's going to be constantly reminded because he's done something really bad in his eyes. So seeing Harper in those reflections, and perhaps there's like a puddle in the alleyway, and if you look down the reflection, you would see her almost as if she was standing below you, looking up at you. I think he'll just temporarily just close his eyes, keep walking, and he knows when he opens them again and looks back, there's a very good chance they won't be there anymore. Okay. And normally that is the case. Okay. So why don't we, you're a little rattled right now. Why don't you give us another keep it together? Okay. What do you think it means seeing her again? Well, he's hoping that it's almost, they're trying to help him solve the mystery. They're almost like guiding him. It's a curse, but also it's helping him to resolve some of these mysteries he's trying to investigate. Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah. No problem at all. Now, I was going to check here. So the way that you recover when you take the... what is it called? I guess. Not stress. When you lose stability, you can actually recover stability by drawing on connections. If you have a scene where you play out the connections, and I think you each, I haven't given you any NPCs necessarily, but you each have a connection to one another, or relationship to one another, and I believe it's that you can clear. Here we go.
In a scene where you experience closeness, where assurance and affirmation from a relationship, your stability is improved a number of steps equal to the relationship value.
So this is to remove that guilt-ridden
Exactly.
thing. I think I would be speaking to Felix as we were walking and trying to get away and trying to get confirmation that that woman was going to be all right. You know, was you definitely sure she was okay? I mean, did the injury look bad? And he'll be trying to pull on support from Felix to reassure him.
Yeah, and Felix would of course be saying, yes, she was going to be fine. It may have looked bad, but we got to her in time, and her friend who was helping looked like he knew what he was doing, and there were sirens on the way, so police would have been there soon to help. She was fine.
And Dom, it sounds like you can tell the conviction in Felix's voice that he's not trying to shine you on here. So you can clear that stability.
Cool.
Then you guys get to the vehicle. You've managed to outrun the people watching your apartment, but seems like there's probably going to be more there. And just to be clear, it doesn't mean it's impossible for you to go back in there. It just means that there's probably going to be a more significant, presence waiting there.
Does Felix have... I would assume Felix is staying somewhere as well.
Where do you think? Are you staying with Dom in his apartment?
So how do the agents of Aegis usually work as an organization? Are we just... You
are self-funded and self-driven. Aegis is more of an organization that is... There is some resources you can draw on, but you guys are... It is more of like a coordinating each of your joint efforts.
Okay.
Think more like, Justice League than, S.H.I.E.L.D.
Let's say that Felix actually has a family in the city.
Okay.
So he brought them up from Charleston, maybe a wife and a daughter. And so they have a small apartment.
Okay.
Maybe an apartment like over a soup kitchen that they kind of help out at. And by helping there, they get a little bit of extra back on their rent.
Okay. You also are a stage magician by profession, so know. And I don't know if the federal theater program has started yet in 32, but there will be a time where you'll be able to draw on funds to, even though people aren't paying to see you.
Mm-hmm.
Where is...
Yeah, okay.
Your federal theater project starts in 35, so yeah, it's a couple years off.
But I would say that he probably mostly, when he needs to work, he probably goes over to Dom's place to work with him.
Okay.
So he tends not to bring his work home, especially because he knows that something's been following him. And part of the reason he left Charleston, because it started to follow him there.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to throw off the scent. So he's trying to figure out where they can go. Maybe we just go to a public area like a library. They'll think that we're trying to go underground, but we can just go out to the library.
Yeah, we need to make contact with this Lawrence organization, don't we? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's two bits of information that you guys did learn. For one, with some in research, perhaps you might be able to identify what it was that you saw. That was looking over there, because Felix hasn't described what he saw to Dom, and Dom, that you're never going to forget what was said there. So perhaps there's also something you could, and you might learn something from whatever language was being spoken there, whatever words were being spoken.
Yeah. I think Felix, after he reassured Dom about the waitstaff, probably would have would start talking about what he saw.
So what is he saying?
He says,
and where are we? Are we driving through Chicago right now, or are you guys like grabbing a sandwich and having a bite outside, sitting on the hood of the car? Or
I would guess probably more like the latter, because I would imagine that the adrenaline is starting to wear off and shakes are hitting hands and things.
Yeah, and it's also it's worth noting, like, Felix is really not a violent dude, or at least right, because I think you got is your violence -1.
Yeah, -1.
Yeah, like, he's really not suited for fighting. He is Dom. I think you probably. In your vernacular, you'd know it as shell shock, right? Like, you can see Felix has got his hands are just trembling.
Yeah, that's the other reason I moved away from the apartment. I didn't want to get any sort of contact with anyone because I just could see that going badly for Felix.
Yeah. And so and Felix also knows, although Dom doesn't yet, that sometimes when he uses that inner power, it affects people he doesn't want it to affect. So he's realizing that. And one of Dom's with the relations, Dom at some point saved my life. We haven't gone into that. He definitely would. He definitely realizes that he could have hurt him, which would be a very poor way of repaying him for saving his life.
Yeah. So mechanically speaking, so you guys can fill in some backstory here. I don't think it's the first time that Felix has used that stuff, because it's just he's a crime-solving magical detective. That's what he did through the whole 20s. Probably fought whatever mob there was in Charleston. He may have been involved in driving them out, or at least fighting them. If you did that, Dom would still have an opportunity to try and avoid harm. So, like, he wouldn't automatically take the damage from it. He would still have an opportunity to do something in fiction to avoid it. But, yeah, it's a risk.
Yep. So, in general, he's in kind of as not really a penance for it, knowing that, he's keeping some things from Dom. He starts telling him pretty much everything that he saw there. But the first thing he asked, though, was like, did you hear wings in the diner? Or he probably knows that it was something that he heard, but just making sure.
Yeah.
I didn't hear the wings, did I?
Okay. No.
I did. There was a strange tremor on the table we were sitting at, though. That's what caused that whole spillage. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, Felix just kind of like smiles, like it's just, I thought you were just being clumsy again, But it's like he's usually the actually, I would assume that you aren't very clumsy, right?
Well, a bit heavy-handed, maybe.
Okay. He's basically making a joke, but yeah, and he's like, says, yeah, there was something out in the. There's something out in the alley. I heard it again. So I heard the wings in the diner and then out in the alley. When we were leaving, you saw I was kind of... You probably thought I was out of it or something, but I see things. And there was
You can, for role-playing purposes, you can assume that you guys are familiar with what each other's abilities are. If you guys have been together for 6 months, picture like Pulp. This is like the crossover of, like, I don't know, the Shadow and the Green Llama. Like the you guys are aware of what sort of what. You know that Dom has ghosts that speak to him, and you know that Felix is more than just a stage magician.
Sure. So he's like, so there was what would he see that as? Almost like a sphinx or a griffin? Probably a griffin, right? Would be if he do the...
let's see how much you know. For yourself, why don't you give us an investigate move? Sure. And we'll sort of use it as retroactive stuff.
Yeah, he'll describe it to him, but then maybe in the process of describing, he realizes what it might actually be. Mm-hmm. Investigate. There it is.
And I'm gonna swap up something here because this music is driving me bonkers.
I don't know, the techno sci-fi from the last one was like.
Oh, the synth stuff! I fucking love that stuff. It's a guy named White Bat Audio is the composer for it. I love his stuff.
Okay.
Okay. How'd you do here?
Yeah, success with complications.
Ooh, okay.
So, let's see. I love
So
that. Is there
what is
anything
your
weird?
question, I guess, first?
Basically, if he knows what it is, like if there's anything in mythology or
Yeah, so what you know, let me get here. This one?
yeah.
No, not that. This. Yeah, that'll do. All right,
This is all coming out very noir. The music is like very noir, which is kind of like where I'm aiming for that feel.
absolutely.
I think.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah. Pulp noir.
So here is just as a reminder of what it was you saw. So if you're now that you've had a moment to think about it, Sphinx is not far off. Griffin is a bit far afield, but it is actually something contemporaneous or older with Egyptian. You need to go a little further east to find this, though, because it is a Lamassu. It is a roughly 4,000-year-old spirit, or at least something that would have been worshipped by or called upon by spellcasters or sorcerers or mystics or whatnot. While it is a creature of Sumerian myth, it is a benevolent spirit. A Lamassu is a spirit of, or a demon of protection and guardianship, not something malevolent.
And he basically relays that. He says, and Lamas, so he kind of asks himself, and I was like, yeah, that might be it. And so he describes all of that. But yeah, it was watching, and it indicated something else, this goat-headed creature. Would he have picked up that as well, or probably not with the investigation?
I think, so you definitely know what the Lamassu is, and I think you know that the way that if you share the description of what you saw and the impression that it had on you, with more more investigation, this is the proverbial let's consult Tobin's spirit guide kind of moment. Yeah. With more investigation, you may be able to uncover something about that, but right now you're not. Yeah. It's not something you've ever personally encountered as of yet.
Okay. So yes, and he says there was some goat-headed. So it looked over in a certain direction, and there was a goat-headed thing watching us. Humanoid, but reminded me a little bit of something Egyptian, but maybe more contemporary with the Lamassu. But it didn't seem to be threatening, but it didn't seem to be like it was benevolent towards us, almost like it could go either way. Maybe it's just watching us to see if we're going to do something it wants or it doesn't want. And that's when. And then after that, I heard the shrieking, and that was about when I said, "Okay, we just got to go." And something was following us. I don't know if it was following us or if it was following me. He just threw that bit out.
And you think these creatures, are they something to do with these packages that this Boone character's sending back and forwards? Are they from this part of the world?
If they are antiquities that came from Iraq, that's where Lamassu were. That's where the myth originates.
Yeah, and he relays that. Good. I mean, our boy likes Iraq, and that's where this package is.
Did you hear that weird language that guy spoke?
No, I was busy trying to duck a punch, I think.
Can I try and repeat it?
You repeat it back, and Felix, you're this is where things I think I'm going to ask you. I'll take my move now. Would you give us another keep it together move, please?
Sure. Keep it together. There it is. Nope.
Okay. So, what you repeat it, Dom, and what, if for one, it is Sumerian, which you certainly understand. You're not suffering life-changing trauma here. This isn't that, but there is what the translation is that the lingering queen stirs from ashes and will come for all you value. And there's just, I think, immediately thinking of your family is probably the thing. So as far as stability is concerned, let's take a look at your character sheet. I actually don't remember. It's page 2 of that. And the pages are at the top.
Yep.
Okay. So, yeah, like you can tick off like anxious, irrational, or unhinged. Which one do you think? How is Felix feeling?
Probably anxious.
Okay.
Mostly about his family. Like it's all he can do right now to stop from. Like he actually gets up off the hood of the car, drops the sandwich he's eating, and he's about to start running back towards his house. Just running. Not even thinking about asking to drive there.
So, Felix looks like he's about to freak the fuck out. Dom, what happens next?
Yeah. I would just try and grab his arm.
It's like
Whoa.
my family. It's like, and he's tugging for a bit, and then finally closes his eyes and kind of centers himself, and he repeats back what he knows it says, and that's what it said.
Yeah.
And he said,
and there's a reference to the lingering queen. Dom, let's. Why don't you give us unless you've got. Can't remember what your tracer does. No, tracer something you can do to track down stuff in
intelligence. Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you give us an investigate move, and let's see what. This will be sort of a flashback thing as well.
Okay.
Awesome. 2 questions you can ask me about anything that was translated there. The lingering queen, rising from ashes, the use of Sumerian.
Yeah, so what would the lingering queen be targeting? Who would it target? As who would it go after? What is it?
So I guess a first question then is your first one. What is the lingering queen?
I guess it'd have to be, yeah.
Okay, so the first thing is the name, the lingering queen, also known as Ninzaket. Ninzaket is a sorcerer queen from ancient Sumeria, a terrifying presence in mythology, said to be mistress of demons and one of the most accomplished sorceresses of her age. She, as all things do, saw her time pass and fell to ashes. But at a time when their world stretched from the Tigris to the Euphrates and then north to the northern borders of Mesopotamia, she ruled the world effectively. And as far as what she may wish to do, return and conquer the world once again. In this failing age, with a lingering bits of or supernatural threats slowly rising on here. The Great War ending, and with it a malaise seeming to fall over the entire world. You've seen at least one occasion where the entire world has been engulfed in conflict. A supernatural threat from 4,000 years in the past returned. You ask what she might, want or do. Everything. Everything. So having heard that's what is being said, the lingering queen.
Would Felix have any idea how someone would return her, or summon her?
At present, no.
No.
But it is something you can definitely look into.
Yeah. These books that this congressman's gotten involved with, it must be something to do with trying to bring this creature, this spirit back.
What both of you would be familiar with, just with past dealings, is that there's more value in the cuneiform tablets than than just simply whatever information is on them. In this world, magic is in part a way of using words, both written and spoken, to affect change into reality. Imagine how powerful some of those first words would have been when you're first setting down words to fixed script. There is a greater power to some of those things, particularly when they are worked with magic. So the cuneiform tablets themselves, just by virtue of their place in history, some of them have an enormous amount of power. And in a similar way, threats could vest themselves in those, in those tablets or in those things. So it's not inconceivable that there is power in some of those tablets beyond just the value of whatever information they have. They may themselves have some power, which is why they need to be physically moved out of that. There's also, not for nothing, this year, there's been a significant change in the kingdom of Baghdad, or kingdom of Iraq. So if there was a desperation in the late 20s, early 30s to get that shit out, it's because maybe something else was going on beyond just political changes in a, newly independent kingdom.
So this Harper Manning has probably sort of discovered this and was killed for her troubles, I would imagine. So maybe we need to track down this Hamid, this Iraqi man, see if he's.
Hamid is definitely. Maybe. Yeah, you have seen him. Very unusual for this era. Long hair. He almost dresses like a Jesuit. Black cassocks and whatnot. Not in the traditional kind of neither in the traditional garb of the region, nor the kind of like westernized suits and whatnot that some folks in non-Western parts of the world would do at this time. A very unusual character, and I think he definitely has been in Chicago as of late. Where precisely is another question, but so
do you think we should try and track him down? Do you think that should be our next?
I think so. I would like to know more about the goat-headed creature, but I think maybe the real world is the first place to start.
And just in terms of game mechanics, you guys are in a scene right now. If Dom, or if Felix can draw on Dom's relationship, you could also try and, if you play it out in some kind of way, you could also clear your stability.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think.
Felix I think his relationship to you is that he saved, Dom has saved Felix's life before.
Yeah, so I think if there's a reminder of that, and then maybe Felix starts to feel that Dom will be able to protect his family. Again, probably somewhat irrational given that we're dealing with huge forces beyond our control, but it's like, well, he saved my life by being, and kind of like as Dom is just talking about things, and Felix's mind is wandering a bit and remembering when Dom saved him. And he's, I think I'm okay. I think my family will be okay. Dom.
Well, I'll send over one of the boys to pick them up. We'll put them somewhere safe.
Yeah.
For the meantime.
Yes, that'll help.
And we'll sort of make a quick walk to like a phone booth or some sort.
Yeah, you're an Italian American in the 30s. You for sure have an extended family you could call on. Setting aside whatever in your community, like you got a cousin, you got a brother, a sister, or whatnot too. There's somebody else who's got a more suburban thing. If you want Felix's family to go and stay with them for now.
Yeah.
So I'll organise that.
Okay.
Hopefully.
And then Felix will of course call and say, there's something not right. I need you to go with my partner's family, good people. Keep you safe. And he tells them both that he loves them, and then goes back to Dom. Just thank you.
Haiti has a lot of like a strong presence of indigenous religions too, but I think it's a Catholic country as well. And so there may be actual connection, like a cultural connection between the Catholic Italian Americans and the Catholic Haitian family, depending on how religious your groups are. But I mean, that's one point of commonality of the church being a significant part in both of your lives.
Yes.
So they'll take care.
With that sort of taken care of, I think Dom's mind will go straight back to trying to find this Hamed guy. And I was wondering, can I use that tracer sort of intelligence network
Heck
to try and find him?
So why don't you give us a tracer move? Let's see here. So this is, we utilize your intelligence network. So what do you think who you're calling on for this?
I think there could be other agents in Chicago.
Yeah, I buy that.
Could be, sort of working on other cases and that. But he's friends with them. He'll help them out if he can, and they'll help him out. And there's a bit of a sort of network of just keeping your eyes open and ears to the ground.
Yep. Okay.
Have you seen this strange character walking
Well, it
about?
could be that you've got kind of a okay. So it could be you've got, like, what I was going to say is, like, what do they call the Fabulous Five? Is that Doc Savage's kind of like his sidekicks that he works with, the people? So you may be drawing on that's like you may not feel like it, but you guys are like you guys are the big pulp heroes, and you've got other sort of supporting people you can draw on. All right, so what is the question that you wish to ask?
Where is he? Where is this Hamid?
Hamid is located. You will be able to pick him up. I think that you're calling around, and it's one of your people who is looking around. Who do you think this person is? Is it like another cousin, or is it someone who like you served with, maybe, or someone that you?
I think it's another private investigator that I potentially served with during the war.
Yeah, okay.
Got into the same line of business.
Okay. If I might draw on an old character name from my high school days, Eric O'Reilly is the name. It was my buddy Dave's go-to character in Call of Cthulhu. His and he was a vet of the Great War as well. So the Eric is the one who is who's been looking out for this, and I'll let you fill in whatever the personal connection is between Dom and Eric. But Eric says that he followed, when you check in with him, he followed Hamid from Boone's congressional office in Chicago, and he went to some warehouse and spent time there. And then when you caught him, he has gone back to the, was it the Silver Legion? No. What do we call that?
Sons
of Silver.
Sons of Silver.
Yeah. So the Sons of Silver. He's apparently, there is a... It's not like a hall or like a Legion hall or anything like that, but it is a building that has been, there's plenty of places that have turned over. It's probably a former theater that has been turned over to the Sons of Silver now. So it's got that kind of like, 30s, fascist iconography outside trying to get people to go in. People handing out pamphlets or whatnot. What the fuck is this Iraqi man doing with a bunch of, effectively white supremacists? And it's while you're on the phone with him that you hear a bunch of disturbance. Whoa. It seems like someone you can hear the sound of, that Eric's got a hell of a right hook, and you can hear it land as he drops the phone, but then you hear something else thump, and there is silence until someone hangs up the phone. It sounds like someone has grabbed Eric. What do you guys do? So I guess first off, you're on the phone, so you've been talking this stuff. Eric's giving you all the information and whatnot. Felix is maybe like you're playing with a coin or something like that, idly, like some, stage magician thing. Dom, where do we see happen next?
I think he realizes straight away that it's too late to sort of get over there and save the day or anything. So he sort of really slowly and sort of carefully sort of puts the phone back onto its hook, or hangs up, and just sort of looks a bit choked up. And
so if he thinks that he can't do anything, I think I will ask you to make a keep it together move then.
Yeah, I was going to say that I think that is potentially the case.
Nice.
So he is literally gritting his teeth and sort of shakes his head slowly.
Felix glances up. You can tell it's like, what's wrong?
I think these Sons of Silver, or the people that are working with him, have got Eric.
And you probably met Eric in passing over the last couple of months.
Yeah. Felix says, no, go ahead.
We need to put an end to this.
Completely agree.
That Iraqi guy is with the Sons of Silver, Eric said.
Knowing now a little bit more about the connection with ancient Sumeria with this, does the Sons of Silver, maybe Felix was attempting to think back, does the Sons of Silver ring any bells like that was something from ancient Sumeria that might be connected?
Yeah, it's like silver. I mean, silver and gold have always been valued as because of such unusual qualities to the metals that the two of them have always had a place of prominence in in almost every civilization.
Okay. Yep.
So definitely there, but the Sons of Silver do, like a lot of quasi-Masonic organizations, they definitely embrace some of that kind of Egyptian Mesopotamian iconography.
Okay.
And maybe you haven't turned your mind to it yet, but there actually might be more to it. If you had some of their, material or considered some of the things, maybe there is more to it than what you've given credence to yet.
Okay. Yeah. So I think, though, at this point, once he knows about Eric, he completely agrees with Dom. He's like, we gotta find this Iraqi.
Let's go and stake that joint out, maybe.
Sure.
The
Sons of Silver place, their main sort of building, want to try and get eyes on it and see if we can identify this Iraqi guy.
So why don't we...
Or even if Eric is brought back there, if they are caught up with it, I might...
So first, let's see how the surveillance goes. So my thought is someone is going to make a act under pressure move, and someone else can help with that.
Let's see.
You might be better at that than me.
Act under pressure uses coolness, so helping would be using coolness as well.
Yeah, I got a 0 on that. What's the help? Yeah, what's the helping?
So it's on your top left of the sort of diagram where your stats are, and it's got a drop-down menu. You just select which stat you're using.
Okay.
So why don't you give us a coolness helping roll, Felix, and then we'll see how.
Sure. Now, is there a possibility that this would give a negative? Oh, yeah, helping or
Yep, if you, 9 or less, it has unintended consequences, but as long as you get a 10 or higher, then there's no... Yeah, so plus 1. Okay. So, Dom, give us a act under pressure with plus 1, please. Remember, don't put the plus sign in.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. So this place is it's not in the suburbs by any means, but it's sort of like on the outskirts of downtown, I imagine. And it probably doesn't have a huge amount of foot traffic around it, being that it's an abandoned theater for a reason, is because folks aren't going in there. It's probably similar to what we see in the illustration here, with the that one next to like Duke's Theater. Mm-hmm. So a single-story place with, or maybe it's two. It looks like it's 2 stories. So a 2-story building. There's a bunch of other similar, like between 2 and 3-story buildings around there. Alleyways where you could potentially conceal yourself. Where do you think you guys have set up your surveillance? How are you conducting it? Are you doing like walk-bys? Or are you just trying to get on a roof somewhere? You break in and you're looking out from a apartment? What do you think?
Is there any buildings nearby that are abandoned because this place is a bit run down?
Definitely, yep.
I think I'd be all up for just breaking into somewhere and just getting a surveillance from a sort of 1st or 2nd story up. Okay. Abandoned building, maybe. If Felix is all right with that.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think that works well.
So, I think what you can see is you've got yourself up there. You probably got your, binoculars and or like a telescope or something like that you've got to view. What's going through Dom's mind as he is observing this place?
I mean, the whole situation, but now Eric's a bit more like focused at the front of his mind. Maybe there's a chance that they might take him back here or question him, or maybe I can still save him. He's trying to clear the guilt that's building up again, that he's got someone else in trouble once again. So he's trying to sort of talk himself out of, he's done it again. He's caused more pain and more problems for people. Okay,
so it's just like a fucking like an entire ball of tension looking down.
Yeah, he's just constantly weighing up all his life choices and everything. Just keeps sort of coming back to him all the time.
And what about Felix? What's going through Felix's mind?
He's really distracted by everything that's happened today. I think he's skittish, so he's probably, at some point, he's going to try to focus again to see if he can see anything going on that they're not aware of, anything outside of the physical.
So like enhanced awareness, you're thinking?
I think so, although I was looking at, where'd it go?
Magical intuition?
Yeah, let me take a look at that for a sec. Because magical intuition told us something about one possibility is learn where the illusion is weakest toward other dimensions, because then if he did that, he could maybe follow it up with enhanced awareness, but...
Sure, yeah. So why don't you give us a magical intuition move?
Sure.
Very nice. All right. So, Felix, you walk over and once again, step into the Shadow Man's world. 3 options. So 1 is now, and 2 can be saved until later this scene. What is your first you'd like?
I think basically what I was thinking was is the illusion weakest in any area that he can see?
Yeah. So if you, do you think this would have happened when you first got here, or do you think after considering, after doing surveillance for a bit, you may go over and look for something?
Yeah, I think it would be after a bit.
Okay.
Maybe they've been sitting there for a while. Nothing has obviously happened, and so he's getting a little antsy.
Maybe
and worried.
Dom's, had his binoculars up, and for hours now, and Felix is like, anything yet? And without even moving, nothing.
Yeah.
So you walk over, and whatever your invocation is. Mm-hmm. 2 things here. For one, there is a very potent focusing of the world of the afterlife or death is manifested around here. And there is meaning there may be some very potent necromantic spirits here, artifacts here, or rituals underway here. And you think of the lingering queen being rising from ashes. The afterlife in Sumerian beliefs is a world of ashes.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's when it kind of dawns on you, and you Felix says something in Sumerian once again, Dom, that you didn't you don't know what it means, and it's a single word, Rabisu, and it clicks with you now, Felix. The Rabisu are demons that serve gods as functionaries in the underworld. They are not necessarily protective or whatnot. They are not something that typically mortals can call on. They serve a higher purpose, as it were. And mortals who transgress the rules and laws of the underworld, it is often the Rabisu who would have been in times of antiquity, who would have been called upon by the gods to intervene. So what you saw before, yet another, an unrelated Sumerian spirit. So, but what Dom has heard only is simply Rabisu. Let me put a handout in for you. So, what happens next? Dom, you don't recognize that word.
Yeah, I would look over and sort of assume that he's in one of his his sort of visions, he probably calls them.
Yeah. So he opens...
as soon as he pops out of it, what are you talking about?
And he describes what he thinks this thing is. And so would these be, as far as he knows, would this thing be then associated with I'm drawing a blank on her name now, the Rising. Yes. Would he be likely associated with her?
Unlikely.
Okay.
However, you would know that if the lingering queen is intent on returning from or leaving the underworld, rising from the ashes, as it were,
that would be a bad thing, according to Okay,
it would not be something that the Rabisu, unless they were corrupted in some kind of way, but that is, they are not like mortals. They are creatures of purpose. And ancient ones at that. These are some of the oldest demons that mankind dealt with.
Okay.
Right? Because.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
Yeah.
So, it also is, like, these things are. They typically cannot be tasked by mankind the way like Lamassu and some other demons from Sumerian myth can be, or spirits. But it doesn't mean that they wouldn't necessarily entreat with or bargain with.
Yeah.
Particularly if you have a shared goal.
Yes. So I'm going to say the other two things. And he's going to try to see through, not see through the illusion. He's going to use the other one. That's better.
Enhanced awareness?
Enhanced awareness. And he relays everything that he felt. Like there's something in that building, death and possibly a ritual going on, ancient. I have a feeling we probably need to find out sooner than later. In other words, just watching right now may not get us to our goal. But I want to look more closely, and his eyes close again.
Okay.
And come on. Ooh,
nice.
Yeah.
All right, so you can discern clear details about this. What you can see is, from your perspective, and you can tell us what this visually looks like, there are spirits of the underworld, demons, in fact, who seem to be not swirling in the sense of like a cloud of bees or like a flock of starling or something like that. Like this is there are several of them moving above, almost like carrion birds circling above a carcass. And there is a focused point within there. There is a potent death magician within there.
And do I see that he's doing something, or just I see the focus?
I think you can see that he is there. You can presence there that he is there, and there are wards on this place as well to augment that. This is the kind of stuff that you would do if you were wanting to undertake a very potent ritual.
Okay.
You also can tell there is something very powerful in there as well, likely a relic or artifact or antiquity of some kind. So you're just, and this is very, if it was the equivalent of a light source, this is nearly blinding in power. And while you're taking this in and seeing all this stuff, Domingo, I'm going to use my move now from your complication, because what you see is someone steps out while, Felix is doing his thing, and you're just muttering, and I think, does Domingo speak French? Did he ever know what that woman said, but when he shot her?
I guess it depends what the word was. I think he would have picked up a few words, so he wouldn't have been like fluent by any stretch. But
so I'm using my last haunted hold against you. What you hear is someone whispering in your ear, speaking French. Once again, it is a woman's voice. You know precisely whose woman's voice it is, and it is most often a herald of more personal tragedy on your point. So I think I'd like you to give us a hold it together, and then I'll tell you what you see. Or keep it together, not hold it together. Okay. How are you feeling? What do you think?
What are we got here?
Now, she says the same... I think she says the same thing each time. Have you taken the effort to try and translate it, or are you willfully not learning what it is she's saying?
Oh, no. If it was the same thing, he'd have to know. He would have definitely found out by now. He'd have looked it up.
Okay, so then I think it's probably something like... I'm not going to do it in French because my French is fucking awful. But... Well, my French is non-existent. I can point at some things and say what it is in French. What I think she says... she simply says, more for your tally. How does that make you feel? Because you're going to take one of those. And it could be haunted, so haunted by the experience at a later time. If you feel like, I don't want you to feel like you have to take one of the things. If you think like there will be a bigger consequence if something doesn't come from this, you can certainly do that if that makes sense. But if you feel like you'd be angry or, you know,
he's moved on from the guilt thing. He's not scared. He's either angry or sad. I just don't know which way he's going yet.
I'm going to give you another option here too. Currently, you don't have we don't have on your sheet a relationship with Eric O'Reilly. What it could be is you could now give yourself a +1 relation with Eric, where like, what happens to him? Because if something happens to someone you've got a relation with, there can be a negative consequence in the same way that you can draw on that relationship. That might be a way that your character evolves, is by adding that as a relation.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that would be a good one.
Okay, so now maybe you didn't realize before just how responsible you felt for Eric. So you can add actually on your character sheet Eric O'Reilly, and you can choose to give it a description as however you want as a +1. It also means that it's someone you could draw on too, right, as a drinking buddy or something like that to improve your stability.
Is that going conditions then?
No, on the first page and near the bottom, there is a list of your relationships.
Relations, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, be right back.
Sure.
Was it O'Reilly?
Eric O'Reilly, yeah.
Okay.
You can feel free to make the Faulty Towers joke. You O'Reilly. Where O'Reilly? Then, what you see, Dom, is... and you kind of look through, there's a guy who steps out into sort of like the back of the theater where sort of the, parking lot or like, be bringing things in, sets out onto the loading dock there. And you can see he's stripped down to a tank top. And you see he's got a shirt over his shoulder too, but the tank top is covered in spatters of blood. And you see the guy is rubbing his hands. He's got them taped up the way a boxer would too, and there's blood all over him. So he steps out and he gets a cigarette from someone else. You can guess what work this man has been doing. So we now feel like you've seen this death stuff in there. Dom has just seen something else. What happens next, guys?
Right, that's definitely anger. I'm putting anger.
Can I ask what, kind of a follow-up from the, not the magical intuition, the enhanced awareness?
Yeah.
So while that's going on, he also tries to look around to see if he sees any of those Sebekus.
Lamasu?
No, not the Lamasu, the other things.
The Ribisu. Is that what it's called?
Ribisu. Yeah. Ribisu, yes.
Yeah, the Go Guys.
Yeah.
If you look around, why don't you give us a... Give us an observe a situation roll, please.
Sure. Got it.
Okay.
Nope.
So you do get to ask a question.
Yeah. He's going to kind of ask, what is my best way through this? And the thing he has in his mind is talking to the
Well, I guess the thing you were asking is whether there was
the Rabisus. Yeah.
And you can see, like, sort of standing on a corner somewhere too, and like in your mind, it's this terrifying, goat demon thing, but people are walking through it, as if it's not there, and it seems to be looking in, and it looks up at you. The downside, though, is you look down and you realize that you have been a little too not obstructive is not the thing, but you have definitely let ripples enter into you. This is the metaphysical equivalent of like leaning too far out from your hiding place to get a good view on things. Because when you look back, that death magician, and I believe I have an illustration for you to see when Hamid makes eye contact with you.
Do I know what Hamid looks like before all this?
Yes, you guys definitely have, because there's like some of Dom's people have probably had like surveillance photos and whatnot.
Okay. Great.
He sees you, and what suddenly Dom and Felix, the room is suddenly things are moving in here, and what you see is there are two spirits, and let me show you what these things look like. And this is happening like at the moment you see that, your anger kind of spikes, Dom, and then you hear Felix of like, cry out, and what you see stepping out of the shadows two spirits, coins over their eyes. I mean, I say spirits, but who knows what the hell these things are. But they step out, and I think what I'd ask you each to do... Oh, boy. I think this is avoiding harm. Because what they're doing is there is a chill wind of the grave that is pulling at you. It's almost like induced heart attacks. So you will I'll give you an opportunity to try and do something to try and avoid that. Currently, be 2 harm that you're suffering. Okay.
Oi.
Felix, and it kind of makes sense because you were so much in that world that it's easy to be like, oh God, you're trying to scramble to get yourself back. Yep. So, Dom, you have gone, but I think you avoided the worst of it. Why don't we have each of you guys give us a endure injury? And you're going to take -1 to yours, Dom, and you're going to take -2 to yours, Felix, for the harm that you're taking.
Sure.
Well, -1 modifier to the roll, yeah?
-1 modifier for you, yeah.
Ooh.
No problem. So it hurts, but you're absolutely able to keep going. Felix. All right, now I believe you get to choose. Oh, no. Sorry, it's a GM's picks. It's when you're knocked out, then you get to choose, or like the worst result you choose as the player. All right, so either the injury throws you off balance, you lose something, or you receive a serious wound. I think it's more interesting for you to lose something. As you stagger back, your icon or whatever with the shadow man falls to the ground and slips underneath the bed of this, abandoned hotel that you guys are going from. So these things have tried to call you back. Would you guys like to take a move now?
Yes, please. So
now I'm
quick
good,
question.
Kev. Go ahead. Go again. That was fun.
Yeah. Let's see what we do next. The icon. Do I need that to perform like an exorcism? Okay.
I think so.
So he wants to perform an exorcism on these two things.
Yep.
But so he's going to scramble to try to grab the.
I'll give you an option here. You can. It'll be acting under pressure to try and get a hold of that thing. I think to dive down and grab it. I think you could try without, but I'll probably give you a -3 on it. So what do you think?
I think he's going to try to.
So one of the neat things with exorcism is it effectively, like, you're probably going to succeed regardless. Like, even your shit result, what it is like the better you do, the less negative consequences you get.
That's right. That's right. Yep. I think he'll try the -3.
Okay.
He's like.
So what do we see as he's trying to exercise these things?
So he's imagining really hard that he still has the thing on his chest. Like he knows how it feels. He knows what, and he's trying to make a direct link to the shadow man, and then he, with the other hand, he just holds out his other hand towards both the creatures and says, "Be gone." Probably a little bit, more powerful on that. So -3.
Here's an interesting. His magic, English, French, patois, or something different.
Yeah. Is Haiti? He'll go patois.
Okay.
And,
oh no!
I think. So resist banishment. So it actually doesn't go. It doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't go. I mean, misrepresented.
Yes. Note his harm during the ritual. I think.
Okay, so unfortunately, you get no options.
Yeah.
So. Oh my goodness. So it is hostile towards you. It may reappear later, and someone is harmed during this, but I'll take that just as. So you reach out, and in this is metaphorically speaking, the gap through which the shadow man passes into you, this thing goes completely into you. And I think where you are, metaphorically speaking, Felix, is you are now on a boat on a vast, stinking and stagnant river. That you can see beneath it, there are forms moving, and this eyed creature is a boatman at the back of this. And in your room, Dom, what you see is Felix just he cries out something in patois, and then one of those things vanishes, and Felix just biffs it right onto the floor of the room. Dom, what are you doing?
So I can see this creature.
This thing still seems to be here, yeah.
And I mean, does it look like a ghost or a spirit rather than?
It looks just like it does in the illustration. You can't
it's
quite
almost
see
got
a face in
hands,
there. The coins are where the eyes should be, but it is so dark in there you cannot tell if there's an actual head. It smells like aged cloth and must. Loamy, like fresh turned earth.
See, this is where I would turn to Felix for advice on what should I do with this thing.
This is a suitably traumatic thing, so if you want to see through the illusion, for instance, you might be able to make use of that.
Felix is not here right now.
Yeah.
In multiple ways.
I mean, his instinct is to like.
So let me ask you this: do you want to first trigger Field Agent to get those options?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that would be the most.
So let's see how many edges you get from that.
If his training kicks in or not.
Fantastic! Holy smokes!
Oof.
Okay, so you got 3 options. Right now, you're not sure what these can do, but it seems Felix may have dealt with one of them.
Yeah. Problem is, I don't know if these weapons will have any effect. When it says improvised weapons, is there anything that I know that Felix has got that I could try and grab?
Probably. Yeah, he's a sorcerer.
Yeah, I
do have a gun, but that's not going to help.
Yeah, but do they use holy symbols, or can I see that Shadow Man sort of thing that I always know?
Here's what if you want to spend an edge on this, you could go and like pick that thing up. I'm not sure what if it's like if it's like a wooden icon, or if it's a piece of paper, or if it's like a rosary type thing, or some combination of that. What do you think, Robert?
I would say probably a wooden icon.
Okay, so you could like pick that thing up, and if so.
Yeah, and I'm just going to try and replicate whatever I've seen him do before. Like hold this thing out towards it and sort of say something that I've heard him say, or...
Yeah. So give us an act under pressure.
It might work.
I think. So you spend one...
I'll spend
one edge to grab that thing, and then go ahead and give us an act under pressure. Let's see how...
Oof.
All right. So unfortunately, that is not... It seems like, you if you try to speak the patois that he says, it just comes out as gibberish.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then first I will take a move. This thing is going to do the exact same thing and have the call of the grave come upon you. You're beginning to hear the sounds of dozens of voices that you all recognize, spirits who have come before you and you can't quite make out what they're saying just yet. But what I'd like you to do is, I think this time, why don't you keep it together? And we'll give you a minus 2 on this.
Both on -2, yeah?
Yeah. Oh. So what is the trauma that you think? I think we'll do with the -2 stability.
Jeez.
What's happening here?
He's just so out of his depth with this stuff. He just really, he gets these hauntings but he doesn't really interact with them, and this is actually happening this time, and they're, he's tried his oldest tricks of shutting his eyes and opening them again, and oh no, they're still here. And he's tried what he's seen Felix do. It would be grabbing a knife and just waving it and doing nothing, and he'd be just going into full sort of panic mode, I think, at this stage.
So, mark one of the -2 stability things that you feel is appropriate. Like it's anxiety, and I can't remember what the other 2 ones are.
There's distracted.
That might work. Whatever one you think is appropriate. But you mentioned grabbing the knife and swinging it around. If you want to spend another edge, that would be an improvised weapon attack.
Yep. Yeah, definitely try.
So you're waving at this thing, but you've got the icon in your hand. It tears into this thing as if it is physical. It has suffered 2 harm. It's not enough to drive it off, but you've torn into this thing, and it recoils as if it was living flesh. Now, Felix, so I've done a move against Dom. I think, Felix, you were on this boat, seemingly on, if not the river Styx, for all intents and purposes, it is. What is going through Felix's mind?
Oh, shit.
I think we'll do the same thing. Why don't you give us a keep it together, because you're hearing the voice of all, like every family member, in particular family, because that's foremost in your mind right now. Any family member who has passed on. Mm-hmm. You can hear whispering from the things. Oh. So again, you can. What do you think is going on in Felix's mind here?
I think he might almost be catatonic for a moment. Like, just everything is just overwhelmed. He's worried about too many things. Like, like he gets swirls of his family members from the past, from now, Dom.
Yeah.
Everything is just swirling in his mind right now.
And I think there's also like as much as it's eerie and unsettling and whatnot, there's also a strangely placid thing because the whatever the boatman is, it is like languidly, almost like a Venetian gondolier, bringing the pole out, putting it back in, and driving you further along into the blackness of this river.
Yep.
So whatever -2 stability thing I think you think is appropriate, that is the consequence of what you're going through. Then, what would you guys like to do for your moves?
Well, if I saw that had an effect, then I would try and again stab it, this creature, and try and put it to an end.
Do you want to take a move of engaging combat, or do you want to just spend your edge?
I think I would use my edge. It would be purely instinct that kicks in. I'm not going to risk anything. It'd be just like
which means you can still take a move if you'd like. So you leap forward, and then as you stab into this thing, it vanishes, and 2 coins drop to the ground.
Okay. I will just go over to Felix and start shaking him and try and bring him out of whatever he might be in.
So why don't you... That sounds like you're helping him for whatever his move is.
Trying to.
What do you think? Maybe it's willpower? Or...
I think so.
Or soul? What do you... whatever you think, Dom.
I think I would be trying to see through the illusion, would I? Or...
So it'd be soul? So yeah. Well, remember, you're using a help, so you can pick whatever stat you're using with it. Whatever makes sense for the fiction.
Or maybe intuition, reading the situation.
I buy that.
Yeah, I'll go for that.
Okay, go ahead and give us a helping move with intuition.
Okay.
Look at that. +2, Felix.
Okay.
So, Felix, as you're on this boat, you may be... Because Dom has your icon in his hand, too, so perhaps there's... This is the, like, proverbial someone trying to get, 1,000 times we've seen in film of this distant voice calling in.
Yes.
Bring it back.
How about if he uses... basically the reverse of enhanced awareness. Now he's trying to see his way back to the real world.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you are close to the icon now, so whatever minor complication you had, go ahead and give us an enhanced awareness with no modifier. Oh, with +2, but don't put the plus sign in.
Okay. But no negatives, or I still get all the negatives for my stability?
The stability doesn't affect your rolls. The only thing that affects is your further chances to keep it together.
I see. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. Okay, so then here's what's happening is how would you is it would Felix see it as that kind of like almost a beam of light, above, or is there a shore that you're seeing now?
I think what he would see would be actually the icon hanging above him. Like, and maybe a shadow behind that, which he kind of feels like
a man looking down at you.
Yeah. Like he would actually view him as the shadow man, but of course, it's in the real world, it's Dom. And so he reaches up and he tries to grab the icon. Okay,
so you're pulling yourself up. Now, I am going to ask you to endure injury at 2 with a -2.
Okay.
Because you're having to basically drag yourself across the, across the barrier between life and death.
Yeah.
Okay. You lose something. So I think... Oh, boy. I'm trying to think of what... Because you're not going to lose a connection with a Shadow Man. That is way too serious.
How about... I'm just going to make a suggestion.
Of course, yeah. What do you think?
How about his eyes? He's been using them more to. He closes them every time he looks. Every time he looks.
So like a temporary blindness kind of thing, where you can only see in the
shadow realm.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, that's great. So your eyes open up and you can see they're completely opaque. That's awesome. And then, woof, Dom, this ferryman thing appears back in the room once again. I've already done my move where I've blinded Felix. So one of you guys or both of you guys can take a move.
He's still holding the thing. He tries the exorcism again.
Yeah, now you got it. Go right ahead.
Yeah. And he's like, he's not even aware at this moment that he can't see because everything seems perfectly clear to him.
And I think he takes your hand, Dom, where you're holding the icon.
Yep. And so no modifiers.
No modifiers this time.
Oh, come on.
Are you kidding? Oh, my God. Okay, so here's what... I think it's so you begin like lashing out and trying to push this thing back onto that boat that you saw, and what's happening is that it is like the whole room is shaking, and you guys can feel the weight of. It's almost as if someone is like throwing heavy blankets soaked in water on you. So it's just like metaphysically you're being dragged down. Why don't you each give us an avoid harm check, please?
Okay.
No problem, Dom.
I mean, I'm just going to try and stab it.
Felix is just like,
there's a crunching. Yeah, give us another endure injury, Felix. This is, you may pay a physical cost on this one at -2.
Yep, -2. Okay.
Come on. Where's that nat 20?
Nope.
So you're crying out right now, I think, Felix, and this thing there is something that it has done. It almost like as the weight is going down, you can see yourself in for a split second back on the boat, and like how there's a splinter that gets into your hand, and then suddenly this thing is gone. Felix, your eyes are opaque. Dom, you whatever's in here, the only thing that remains are those 2 coins. And Felix, if you bring... Go ahead.
Is that a serious wound, by the way, just to make sure?
Nope.
Okay.
But what it is, though, is if you bring your hand up, there is a pale, faded fleck of wood in your palm of your, like the meat of your palm.
Okay.
And you
Which, of course, you can't really see.
Yeah, and you can't seem to get it out.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
And that, guys, brings us to the end of this chapter 4 of our pulp story. So what we would do if this was an ongoing game is we would quickly ask the following questions to determine XP. First thing is your dramatic hooks. Dom, did you reveal a dream that relates to your current investigation in this session?
I mean, we talked about it. I didn't really reveal it in the game with Felix, did I? But
okay. Did you investigate Felix's connection to the Shadow Man?
I tried to replicate it.
Okay. And then for Felix, did you question a plan that involved killing a living being?
I don't believe we had any plans to kill a living being, so I would say no.
Did you investigate the connection between Senator Boone and the Sons of Silver?
I believe so.
Okay, so that would be 1 XP there. And then we would ask...
I should say we were trying to. Not sure that we actually succeeded.
No, you did. I think, you learned a lot.
Okay.
I mean, the nature of Hamid, if nothing else, you absolutely learned that. So and then we would also ask 3 general questions. So I think it's 5 XP you can generally get. at the end of any session. So we would then ask, where is it here? And special equipment. At the end of each session, so those two, did we discover anything new about the truth, capital T?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree with that. Have you learned anything new about your characters?
Yes. I think both of us.
Yeah, learn about each other's characters.
Yeah. And about yourselves. First time playing it. That's an easy gimme on the first time you play a character. And the final one would be, did you challenge yourselves?
Challenge as in...
it's phrased simply as, have we challenged ourselves? I think you guys jumped in to pre-gens that you only received shortly before the session and made fully fleshed heroes and added backstory and NPC stuff to them. You absolutely did.
Okay.
So that's what we would do, is we would, and then at the start of the next session, you would determine what each of you might suggest a dramatic hook to the other. And you can dump dramatic hooks that don't, like, if you're like, okay, I don't think we're actually going to see this one, you can dump that, replace it with one suggested by another player. But it's neat because it's you guys who suggest things to each other. Of like,
how many do you normally have? Is it like
dramatic hooks?
Rotate in two, sort of?
It's, let me see here. Dramatic hooks is normally during each. You should have 2 dramatic hooks.
So you can
The first one, you get to
one
choose 2, and then in later sessions, the PC receives dramatic hooks from other players and the GM.
Right. Okay.
So we would be, like, for instance, you might suggest, like, oh, I want you to reveal the, underworld splinter in the next session with Felix, right? And with Dom, I want you to, what was the prompts? There's 8 prompts for dramatic hooks. I want you to tell us, I think you should tell how you met Eric O'Reilly. Right? You don't have to do that, but if it comes up in the scene and you introduce it in the session, it's another XP for it. So there we go. And that brings us to the end of our session then. For those listening at home, thank you so much for joining us for this pickup session set in the 1930s, so about almost 100 years before the events of our session. I will tell you, Darren Ninzakat, the Lingering Queen, is a supervillain who just escaped from prison in our ongoing campaign.
That's right.
Yep. Ninzakat at that time looks... Where is she here? Where's our prison break tranche?
So apparently we didn't stop that.
But who's to say this is when she came into the world?
That's true.
Yeah,
right?
It's time.
90 plus years of distance between when that happened and and the present. So it may not be that these heroes are to blame. Also, like, who's to say that her manifesting is not you guys actually succeeding? Her plan may have been much, much worse than that. Okay, I think I'm going way too far back here. I think I've missed it, but I'll post in Discord, Darren, so you can see what Ninzakat looks like, because I don't know where.
All I know is we really don't want to meet her again.
Oh, here she is. Here she is.
Oh.
So this is...
Yeah. Oh, yes. Floating Blood Lady.
Oh, yeah, she's a charmer.
Yep. 4,000-year-old Sumerian death sorceress and former sorcerer queen. So no problems there whatsoever. Then for those listening at home, thank you so much for joining us for this impromptu session of Kult Divinity Lost. As is always the case, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the session, the campaign, or the game we're playing, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section down below, and I'll endeavor to reply in a timely fashion. There's also a link down below to the Dungeon Musings Discord server, where we have channels dedicated to the Guard campaign, I think, No, maybe not. We would to most of the campaigns we run on the channel. We do. Okay, most of the games we run on the channel, as well as a ton of other great things like finding a group or GM discussion. There's a really great community that has built up over the years over there, and you are more than welcome to join us. There's also a link down below to the our friends at Noble Knight Games. Noble Knight Games is the preeminent unionized retailer of hard to find and out of print RPGs in North America. Not only do they have a great selection of new role-playing games, board games, and card games, they have a unmatched selection of hard to find and out of print RPGs. If they have it in their catalog, something that is not in stock, you can put it on a want list, and they'll send you an email when it comes in, and you're free to pick it up at your leisure. And if you make a purchase of $10 or more through their website, be sure to enter the code MuserNight, all caps, all one word. It's in the description of the video down below, and you will save yourself 10% on your purchase. There's also a link down below to something called Heroes Save Villages, the charity fundraising campaign that we run on the channel. It benefits the SOS Children's Villages, the international charity, a really incredible organization, active in over 130 countries, benefiting over 80,000 orphaned and abandoned children, including ongoing relief efforts in a bunch of crisis areas. You can learn all about their activities by following that link, and you can make donations through there as well. All donations go directly to them, and as a way of saying thank you, starting at the end of July, we will be canvassing donors who have donated more than $25 or more since January 1st, 2024, to help us vote on the charity sessions for the final half of the year. I've got something fun planned that I'll be posting about in late July on the Charity Initiatives channel. And if you have made a donation since January 1st of $25 or more, be sure to head over there and see how you might participate in the charity sessions for the final bit of the year. The last thing I will say is an enormous thank you to our stalwart pulp heroes. So Darren and Robert, who jumped in at the last minute to play this. This was Darren. This was the second time you've played Kult. I think from my side of the screen, you got a much more authentic experience of what Kult can be like for this. Was this a more satisfying experience than your first playthrough?
Yeah, I think the first time it felt like we was trying to play another game, like a normal game, but with different rules. I don't know if that's not a very good way of describing it.
No, I think it's a great way of describing it. Yeah.
It was quite sort of combat focused, and it don't seem to suit this game. This seems to be more like cut screen, like, yep, that happened, move on. Right, next scene, and then move on. So you can get through things quite quickly, quite narratively. I felt more like that this time. I felt we got quite a bit done, and you could see the scenes working out, and just key, real key points, like grabbing some sort of Felix's sort of ornament, his object, his necklace or whatever it was. So just key points rather than like slogging it back and forwards, punch. So I felt like I got the feel of what we were meant to do. What we were meant to be doing, what the game's trying to do.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, this was my second time too. We just did the solo.
Okay.
Yeah. We just did the solo thing. Yeah.
How was the magician?
The magician was fun. The magician was fun. It's like seems super powerful, but at the same time, like the with great power comes great consequences. So if you fail, you get possessed and sent to the River Styx or something. So
yeah, I really liked the way that you guys each had your own kind of like had really clear kind of niche protection for for what you guys were, and it was cool seeing what you were relying on. Of like, I don't think you felt. It didn't seem like Felix was lacking things to do, but it was clear he was like, look, man, you fucking handle the fucking fighting. Because,
Yeah, because in a regular, more traditional game, there's no penalty to like taking a shot or swinging or something. Whereas in this, there actually is. So, if you fail, you're going to put yourself in a worse situation.
Yeah.
So,
there's also more significant things you can do in those scenes as well to sort of like beyond just like it's when it's in a dramatic scene like that or in a scene with violence, there's things you can be doing as your for your character interaction with the events that are happening that I think is more meaningful than just like scrambling, trying to find something that is different than fighting or supporting the fighting.
Right.
You know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's what I liked with the edges. It meant you could just get through a combat.
absolutely.
If I had a good roll, it's like,
Yep.
well, I knock him out and I punch him. All right, that's that done. Right, let's move
Yep.
on.
Yeah.
If it went well.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, there is still. I like that there is a consequence. Like, there it isn't without risk that you're doing these things. But it's also like the risks seem to have their prompts towards other interesting things happening. Right. Like the. I really enjoyed this session in particular was a really good example of evolving. Like, okay, then this happened, and then this happened. I didn't know fucking Eric O'Reilly was going to be in this game, but then it became a driver of your actions for by the end of the session, which was really a lot of fun. So great,
Yeah.
awesome. Well, this is again, we're using Kult Divinity Lost as the published by Helmgast Studios. The default setting is what puts some people off because it is very extreme. But I think the underlying mechanics of the game are just so fucking good that you can definitely use it to play whatever kind of horror or quasi horror type thing that you feel is appropriate for your own sensibilities. But we'll be back in 2 weeks' time with To the Guard. But until then, we hope that we gave you a few hours to take your mind off the troubles of our world and think about the troubles that our heroes in the 30s are uncovering. What is this sinister Congressman Boone and his what do we call them? Sons of Silver and the machinations of the Lingering Queen? Well, we'll have to find out and another time. Dive into those back issues and try and find part 5 of the Agents of Aegis adventure. But until we see you again, stay safe, stay healthy, and happy gaming.